everyone. Welcome to All About the Joy, the private lounge. We have Rick Costa in the house, Cynthia Lopez in the house, and our guest, Josh, and I'm going to mess up your name, but I'm going to try, Josh Simon, right?
Simons, but very
Simons.
close.
Okay. It's so nice to meet you. I always like to tell people how I know our guests, but I actually don't know you. Julia reached out to us because I guess she listened to our podcast. So
yeah, Julie's my my assistant, and I asked her about a year ago to start listening to more and more podcasts that might cover things that we like to talk about and that I might be valuable in some way. And I think she's doing a great job. But yeah, that's how we came to be.
Well, we're so glad to have you on the show. And I did as much research as I could, and so didn't Rick and Cynthia. So we have a million questions. But the first one I want to start with is you were a musician, or you're still a musician, and I see guitars in the background. So can you just tell us a little bit about that before we get into how you became the CEO of Vinyl and creating Vampr? Do you say Vampr?
Yeah, it's however you want to say it, but that would be considered correct in 190 countries.
Okay. 190 countries.
Boom. Yeah, so
okay.
I started in actually I'll go back a step. So I started managing friends' bands when I was in high school, and I really loved some of the music they were making, but where I wanted to take them probably a bit more commercial, they wanted to be indie and cool, and that's why they got the girls and I didn't. And I wanted to make something a bit more, something that you might hear on the radio. So I ended up stopping management and actually just making the music myself. And that actually, I mean, it wasn't a conventional career path in that it broke really quickly. So it got on the radio and we started playing festivals and touring like within the first 6 months, which is unusual. And then it kind of, it stopped and started a lot because I would pursue other things like technology companies and just other little ventures. And so it went in these weird fits and bursts, but it's taken me around the world. It brought me to America, became a citizen of that great country, and it introduced me to my wife and all these wonderful things. And so that's, yeah, in a nutshell, that's kind of my playing career. But then that obviously then led to other things that we'll probably talk about today, such as running a big technology music group and things like that.
Right. Well, I'll just say, we don't really do things conventional here. Although last time we had someone on the show, I read their entire resume. It was pretty crazy, but it was also cool.
Okay.
I will say this for you. You are the CEO of Vinyl Group and the founder of Vampr, a platform that's been called the LinkedIn of creatives, which I found interesting. But it's really something more human than that. You're a former musician turned tech entrepreneur. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, it's all, someone sent you the right information. Yeah. Or you're a really good researcher.
She's a really good researcher.
I'm a really good researcher, but also she did send me your bio and then all your links.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not done, baby. Hold on one second.
All right.
So, you've raised millions. You've acquired iconic media brands. You've stayed throughout that whole thing. You've stayed pretty focused on one thing. And this. I thought you were
gonna say stayed humble. I was like, yeah, okay.
Nope. I don't think you stayed humble. No, I'm just kidding. You've stayed focused on one thing, which is empowering artists and then trying to build communities. And that's what I think Julia, your executive assistant, she's brilliant, by the way, only in the way that she's interacted and she communicates. And because I work with so many people who are executive assistants and I fire them all the time. But that's a side thing. But I think that's what she saw.
She's my first EA. I've held off having one for about 10 years because for various reasons. I also just believe you can do most of it yourself. But then I got so busy to a point that I was like, no, it's actually becoming detrimental not having one.
Let's give her props.
Pick the good one.
Yeah.
Let's props.
Yeah.
But I think that's what we do is we're trying to build community around all different types of subjects or whatever. And I think that's the connection. Totally. So we're excited to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Cynthia, I think you had a question.
Yes. What inspired you to build Vampr, and what makes it different from other social platforms?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was thinking back, I think as in England, and my band had some like success in Australia, and then like a lot of Australians, when you start to break in a market that's quite small like that, you go, can I do this in a bigger country because I could probably make a bit more money and blah blah blah, reach more people, and I'm English, like I was born there, so it made sense to give it a crack there, or at least on paper it made sense. And then what everyone underestimates when they move for an artistic endeavor often is you're starting from square one in any given city, so you probably don't have a network around you of folks in that space. You certainly wouldn't have access to, say, managers or publishers or producers or promoters. I don't know why they all start with P, but these are people that can sort of get your career, I guess, into that next level. And I think you underestimate or take for granted that the first sort of, let's say, the years between the ages of 15 and 20, even though you're still a kid and you're probably living at home, you're still building your network during that time, and so that's kind of it's almost free time that you get. And then when you're an adult and you're paying rent and you've got to earn a living and all that stuff, you don't get that free time a second time. So it's a long way of saying went to another country, couldn't or didn't have the time to build the career a second time over. And I sat back and reflected on it and thought, well, technology's done a great job of making it easy to build a fan base. Anyone can start an Instagram account, YouTube channel. You can put your music out there through CD Baby, and there's all sorts of ways you can sort of build your audience, but there's no tool in the music industry to connect professionals one-to-one. And that was the sort of light bulb that was like, well, surely someone, if they haven't built it, should be thinking about it or starting to build it. And so then I just kind of got on with it, and that was the start of Vampr. And it wasn't like a calculated thing or we're going to go and conquer the world or anything like that. It was just like, this might be a useful idea, and then we just started building.
Can you tell people why it's called Vampr?
Yeah, so the vamp in music is to like jam around a set of ideas, usually like a chord progression or like a rhythm over and over again in a bit of a loop until everyone sort of starts to get into it, and you start creating something really out of nothing. And so that's to vamp. And then it was 2015 and everything had an R at the end of it. So it was Tinder and Tumblr and so we just were very uncreative in that respect.
I was trying to figure it out. And like, I'm glad I was like, I'm just going to give up on that for a moment.
Yeah, no, it's pretty, yeah.
How old were you when you kind of thought like music is going to be the trajectory of my life?
Probably about the age of 4.
Wow.
Because my parents both were in the music industry, and my grandparents in quite senior roles. And my father passed away when I was 2. So a lot of very raw memories from not quite 2, but certainly the ages of 3 or 4, quite visceral memories of basically me and my twin brother living in England with a single mum who had to move, her kids back to Australia because her English partner had just passed away. It was such obviously a formative time, but in and amongst all that was this family that was just immersed in the music industry. And we coped as a unit, the 3 of us, by listening to old records, and mum introduced us to like Diana Ross and the Supremes and like Tubular Bells, which is like an instrumental album. And there's just all these old sort of classics, Toto, Led Zeppelin. I could go on for hours. And
Toto is a big deal in Europe, right?
Yeah.
Big deal here with like 2 singles or something.
Yeah, the 2 big singles, Africa
right.
and Hold the
Wow,
Line.
that's a name I haven't heard in a while. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
But no, so that was just around. And so then, again, we were this kind of protective unit of 3 that were just trying to get through a really rough time for any family. And we were such young kids. And so I suppose my mum was trying to do things to give us hope and I don't mean, it wasn't negative, by the way. It was a really actually kind of amazing time. As kids, we had no idea that it was an unusual upbringing, but she just surrounded the household with music and stories from the industry and pianos and acoustic guitars, and things were just around the house. And so it felt like it was a given. I wasn't forced into it, but at the same time it was like never really a choice. It's like somehow you're going to be involved.
How did you switch from not doing being a musician, I mean, I think that would be hard. And I only know it because I was a dancer and then I couldn't do it anymore. Like there was no choice.
Yeah.
So I had to go to college. You know what I mean? How are you able to reconcile those two things, leaving that field and going into basically the business end of it?
I really think they're the same muscle. I think they're the same muscle. See, when the main thing I think I thrived at when I was a playing musician more actively is songwriting. And songwriting to me is problem solving. It's like, I've got this thing that sounds catchy, but is it a verse or is it a chorus or is it a pre-chorus or is it how are we going to end the song? Are we going to fade it out or are we going to end with a bang? And there's all these sort of micro decisions in any given song. There might be 1,000 little decisions that you're making along the way, maybe more. And running a business is identical. You know, it's if this staff member's not behaving particularly well or they did this thing and maybe we should have a chat to them. But if we do that, that might disincentivize them. And so we've got to do this thing over there and maybe we can give them a bit of leeway, but we're going to launch this initiative and maybe take off some responsibility. So anyway, I'm still making up hypotheticals there, but the point is it's all problem solving. And I think that's the part of the brain that sort of, part of my French gets turned on a little bit when it's working. And
you get really passionate. Like, did you guys just notice him? Like, just like,
that's what it's like every day. And I think that's what attracted me to music making. And then ultimately I found that same satisfaction running a business. So, you know, same, but different type thing.
So tell us how then you got vinyl. How did vinyl come into fruition, I guess?
Yeah. It's a good question. So I started Vampr in America and we launched that in like 2015. And then something happened in about 2021. If I'm sure we all remember, sort of halfway through the whole COVID thing, tech companies plummeted, like the valuation of private tech companies.
Oh, right.
Plummeted.
I was like, COVID? Like, okay.
Yeah. So so there was this big crash and then there was this huge rebound and everything was like to the moon and GameStop and crypto and all that. And then what happened like immediately after that is this kind of steady, almost recession like in the private markets behavior, where we were a company that had, and I'm not going to bore people with this, but we'd raised money at about a $20 million pre-money valuation. And that means it's bloody high for the amount of business that we were doing. And then what we were finding is we'd come to the end of the runway, which means we sort of run out of money to spend to develop the products and bring in more customers, which is the life cycle of a startup, right? You raise money, you spend it, grow the business, raise more money.
Is this for vinyl?
This is for Vampr. So
Vampr. Okay.
So we this sort of thing happened to the world where the valuations plummeted and our valuation went down to about 5 million. And our board, that's like quite a big haircut. It's like a 75% discount. So our board was like, you've done a good job. You've worked really hard, but it's, I think year 7 or 8 into the project and maybe it's time you found a buyer. And, we don't really want to do what's called a down round where we would have had to raise money at a lower valuation and given away more of the business. So I started looking for a buyer and I found a company in Australia called Jackster that was like IMDb for the music industry. Right. And they had their own unique challenges and it was a tough time for everyone that post-COVID period. So someone, smarter than me said, maybe if you can find a way to bring those companies together, they might have a fighting chance to sort of not only survive, but thrive. And that's exactly what we did. So long story short, I sold my business to a company called Jackster. I then took over Jackster within a few weeks and we rebranded it as Vinyl Group, which was a big portfolio sort of play. And now we've bought a whole bunch of other music businesses.
Wow.
I now I should have called you first because now that all makes such sense to me. You know what I mean? So tell us what the focus is now with vinyl.
Well, I think broadly and lazily, you can probably break the business into 2 parts. There's Vinyl Media, which is a publisher that owns titles like Rolling Stone Australia, Variety Australia. We have an ad network in there too that represents the Australian web traffic for sites like Deadline, Hollywood Reporter,
right?
Rotten Tomatoes coming soon. That's a pretty big business. And then on top of that, we own a bunch of music publications that are more native to, again, Australia. So that's very much an Australian media business, but it's the product of, I think I bought about four or five different companies to assemble that as to what it is today.
Right.
And that's the media thing that we call Vinyl Media. And then there's our technology businesses on the other side of Vinyl Group, and that encompasses Vamper, obviously we've talked about,
Right. Mm-hmm.
Jackster. We've got a business called Serenade, which is like NFC merchandise. So, you know, if you go to a concert and you buy, I don't have anything handy, I've got a little percussion thing here, but like, let's say you bought a frog at a concert and it's a piece of merchandise from your favorite band. NFCs is like a chip that would be embedded somewhere in this, and when you touch it with your phone, it activates a digital experience. So it's like a merchandise company that's trying to blur the lines between physical and digital, and that's really cool. That's an English business that I bought in, I think, September. And so, you know, we're working with some really major international artists that I can't talk about, to bring those products.
You know, that's all we want now. Like, what?
Yeah,
what is this? What is this? You can't do that. We're going to delete that part. That's not fair.
It's fine. That's okay. You know, we're a public company, so we can never talk about things that haven't happened yet because it's
right. No, I know. I'm just kidding.
I know.
But for you, it's international, but it probably means people from here in the United States. And
yeah, sure.
And I see that you've worked with Lady Gaga. You know, I was just checking out.
I've not worked with Gaga.
Oh, well, why is Lady Gaga on your Instagram or whatever? What was that?
I don't know. She might have been in one of our magazines or something.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't.
Well, it was nice talking to you. We were really excited because of the Lady Gaga.
I wish I could say that I've personally worked with Mama Monster. That'd be very cool.
Oh. God, you know what? I didn't realize this was going to be more business oriented because I just learned so much.
We can talk about anything.
No, it was that was just, I feel like I just learned so much about business in general. And I like to pretend I know so much about business, and I just felt so educated.
Well, I do too. My life's been nothing if not strange for the last couple of years while this is all coming together. And I'm obviously driving it, but there's a degree of being a passenger in the journey as well and watching it happen. It's like, this is all, yeah. I mean, my mum doesn't believe, when I go home some Friday evenings and have dinner with my folks or whatever, my mum and her new partner, I will sometimes tell them what I'm up to, and she just thinks I'm lying half the time until it becomes a news story.
Really?
Yeah. Like last year, I think when we got to December 2023, so they call that, 18 months ago, we had this Coldplay tour coming up, which was like 11 dates or something. We had this, and it was a whole year away, so we had to keep that quiet for an entire year. And then on top of that, we just bought Rolling Stone Australia, and that was a big deal here. And yeah, they just thought I was lying about it all. It wasn't until it started.
Is it kind of like imposter syndrome?
Probably. Yeah, I think everyone has that.
I think everyone has it. Yeah. But it's kind of cool to hear someone who is as successful as you are to admit it, because most people would never.
Yeah. Well, most people.
No, you called it being on the passenger, right? Like, like you're just watching it happen as opposed to being the person who's driving it. So it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. Yeah. But hopefully though, like when you're busy, you're not spending too much time looking backwards. And I certainly don't. It's more about trying to be present sometimes and appreciating what's going on in real time.
Right. Go ahead, Cynthia.
You spoke about having a twin brother. Is he also in music, and is he part of the business too?
No, he's a lawyer, and he's a really quite high-powered one. I try to convince him to be part of the business, but he's so far resisted. He's
smart
law somewhere in England. But yeah,
because someday you might need him.
I know, and I'm trying to get a good rate.
Yeah, I heard the twin thing too, Cynthia, when you said that. I was like, because I didn't see any of that in your bio or anything.
No, we don't.
There's no need for it.
Is it identical? Identical?
No, he's much skinnier and just a smaller frame. I'm the bulkier one of the two. Yeah, he looks like my dad. I look like my mum.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. So what does the music industry get wrong about community? Because you seem to be centered on trying to get artists and musicians specifically community based. So I'm trying to figure out, what do they get wrong, or what are they not doing right that you're filling that void for?
Yeah, I think historically there's a lot of gatekeepers in the music industry, and there's good and bad reason for that. Gatekeeping in general is not a great thing, but there's understandable reasons, and then there's just people being assholes. But the main reason is it's a very hard industry, like any creative business, to crack into. And then once you achieve a certain level of success, you kind of want to protect your position. Now there's big exceptions to that. So one thing I noticed, particularly when I lived in America, is when someone makes it, like an Ariana Grande or Kanye West, or thinking of people that were sort of working in studios that I was around, they have their whole crew with them, and that crew is usually there from when they're in high school or in their really early years. And I love that, because that's the positive side of the music industry, where we talk about, like a rising tide lifts all boats. And that's what I really try to promote in everything I do, which is reminding folks that in order to be successful, you don't need to try and find out how you can get in touch with Jay-Z or how you can get in touch with some music executive. That you actually just need to really invest in your friends and the people around you, because if everyone's helping the people around each other, like, it only takes one of you to make it for everyone to really ride that wave. And so that's what I'm big on promoting. But I also lived in LA, so I've seen.
I was just going to say, how could you even believe that, when 9 times out of 10, those are the people that end up?
No, that's not true though. Because when I've been, because living, like, the truly successful ones, I can think of. I'm not going to name names, but there's a few not very nice people that have kind of effed up, as in gotten successful by going. We call it vertical networking versus horizontal networking, but I would say far more often than not, the really famous people, like I said, are surrounded by people that came with them. And that's a great example. And that's what restored my humanity in the industry, because there'll always be the gate. So they might themselves be gatekeepers and not allow someone to come up, or might shut a door on someone and not give them an opportunity. Whether that person's owed one or not is kind of up for debate. But I do see typically people bring folks with them. And so again, I think that should give everyone hope that it's possible to make it.
I know what you're saying. And I like your viewpoint better. So I don't want to be negative, but in my experience, but I'm going to be, but in my experience, what I've noticed is that money changes things.
Yeah. But I think money corrupts in any industry, whether
yes.
I think it's separate to that fame piece. That comes with being in creative industries. I've seen people that aren't well known, but who have come into, or maybe they've gotten really high in their careers, suddenly have a lot more wealth than they used to, and I've seen it corrupt them in a really ugly way.
Yeah. Okay, fair.
And so I think the fame part is separate, maybe related. I've also seen what a harsh spotlight can do to a person and really make them go inwards as well, and that certainly has its own interesting, weird side effects. But I think what I try to do when I talk about this topic is push all of that other stuff to the side and just talk about practical ways for people to earn a living in the industry that they love being in. And that's how I'm able to just stay quite optimistic and focusing quite narrowly.
How do we do that?
I think I've said it. I think it's
getting therapy now. Thank you, Josh.
I think, like I said, I think it's about doubling down on the people that are already around you and asking questions and being an interested person. I've found generally will serve most people pretty well.
We joke all the time about when one of us hits the lotto, we're going to take care of the rest of us.
Yeah,
I say it, but I'm lying. I'm lying every time.
I'm sitting here in my office looking at my neighbor's house, and him and I have a pact where if one of us wins the lottery, we're going to buy a couple of the other houses and build a big, nice compound for us all to enjoy.
Really? Can we come visit? I think we should do a podcast in person with you.
I reckon.
Come visit. Cynthia doesn't want to come because she's afraid of the spiders.
That's only up north, which is like Queensland's the name of the state. It's like our version of Florida, and that's where you get all the crazy stuff. But people think that that's all of Australia. That's just one part.
But okay, so now we know we're staying away from the north.
Right. But do you have the big spiders where you are too? Yeah, Australia has the big.
They're occasionally, but I think since I moved back here Since I moved back here in 2022, I think I've seen one. That's
enough for me.
right. Yeah.
Somebody just sent me a postcard from, what's this called? Blue Mountain, Australia.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh,
between
beautiful.
Melbourne and Sydney. So I live in Melbourne, but our office is in Sydney, and I fly back and forth fairly frequently. It's about an hour flight, and we fly over those. They're beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah.
How do you balance? I'm going to get us back a little bit. How do you balance innovation, technology with authenticity? Like, you're very grounded. Not that I would expect you not to be, but how do you deal with kind of just having all this tech and all this innovation and staying kind of normal? You're speaking on my level. I get you. How do you do that?
I don't know. I've never liked things, even though I own a social media platform. I've never really much used or cared for social media, which I do think can be a corrupting force if it's monetized the wrong way and is taking advantage of vulnerable people and their state of mind. So I've stayed away from social media.
But we don't want to promote that. We want people to go check out vinyl.
Yeah.
And
I have a bizarre relationship with self-promote. I mean, I say that as someone appearing on this podcast, but I'm also pushing myself, right? Like, this is also like, I want to be out there speaking more because I know that I've got something to add. But I just think there's probably digital. I've heard the term digital health before. It's a bit wanky. But I think being mindful of spending too much time with technology is something that everyone should probably, at the very least, consider. Just the nature of what I do, there's a lot of thinking that goes into pretty much everything. Like, as I was saying before, there's a lot of decisions every day, countless, maybe hundreds of decisions, that impact the business or some other person's life in some way. And so there's a lot of thinking time. And I find that during thinking time, you're actually away from devices a lot. I've got an incredible, like, you can't really see it, but I've got gadgets all around me and I've got gadgets all around the house, but I find that I very rarely touch anything. Much more time is just spent
for the audio, but for the audio, I want people to know that you should go check out vinyl.com and vampr.me. But okay, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
I don't know. Probably playing bad piano in a cover band. I don't know.
That's good.
I don't know. Music in his blood. He's been doing it since he was 4.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, I suppose when I was in my 20s, I worked as a toilet cleaner and a gardener for altogether about 4 or 5 years, somewhere around that. And that was how afforded. Awesome. That's how I afforded to make my first album. It's how I was able to pay for rent in my first apartment, so I'd probably just go back and cut grass again. To be honest, the happiest I've ever been was there was one year where I took 1 year off, like, creating. It wasn't planned that way. It just happened that way. I was a bit burnt out way too young to be burnt out, but I was burned out, and I wanted to just not be creative for a year and just make a bit of money and have some fun and drink beer on the weekends and just chill out. And I've got to say, it's still probably looking back with rose-colored glasses, but my favorite memories are from that year.
I think that makes sense, though.
Yeah.
I think all of us can go back because it was simply, you didn't have all this responsibility. You didn't have all these people that you have.
My biggest responsibility was making sure I was clean before turning up to a party so that the pretty girl might kiss me.
Exactly. Same thing.
Honestly, I think that's what's keeping you humble.
Yeah.
Is that you started small and you worked your way and you know about hard labor.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I think it's important to have what I call real jobs, like real hard jobs that are more about manual labor and not glamorous before you start then acquiring companies and selling them and buying them and doing all the stuff you're doing.
Because that is the natural progression I've heard.
Yeah, no, it's not right. But it should be. It should be required
Absolutely.
that everyone who's like a teenager or a young 20-year-old should have to do like hard labor. I don't mean like prison work.
Yeah.
But it teaches you something. It gives you some character.
It gives you it gives you discipline. I think it teaches
Mhm.
you how to start and finish a job. One of the reasons I think a lot of people who say they want to own a business and want to do big things, one of the things I observe, at least sort of from a unique perspective, is people's inability to get things finished. And so a lot of people are very good at, I mean, almost everyone's good at starting ideas, but I think the key to success is often completing. And sometimes completing doesn't mean the vision that you had when you got started. It just means having a finished product and something to give to the world. Typically speaking, when you put something out there into the universe, whether it's effort or a product or a combination of the two things, you will get something back. And again, it might not be what you think you want,
right?
but it'll be something. And that something, that concept, that idea, I've built my whole life around that one idea.
God, I'm so jealous of you. I also think that a lot of reason why people go into wanting to become entrepreneurs or getting into business is because they think they're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Whereas it's really, if you're passionate about something, you will continue to do it and you will find your way doing it. You know what I mean?
Well, there's another thing in that, which is I really hold on to, which is if your version of success is just, I want to be able to do the thing I love and earn enough from that to be able to pay the bills, I think then everything above that is just an added bonus.
Yes.
And that gives you a real freedom. So I have that as well. And that's from doing those years of labor, because I was just like, I don't know, I can't remember what I was on back then, maybe $800 a week, not a huge amount of money. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking, if I can earn that same amount, but from doing something I love, that's like the jackpot.
Oh,
and
man, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to do this and make $800.
That's right. That's right.
We love to do that. That's why we all work 40, 50 hours a week and we still do this show. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That is the goal. You want to be passionate about it and you get something back from it. You know?
That's right. Yeah.
What brings you joy in your work now? I mean, I think I kind of can say it for you, but go ahead.
Well, I want to hear it from you. I think it might be more interesting.
Well, you know what's so weird? I think that you embody joy. I wasn't expecting this. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. Julia is great. Is that her name? Julia, right? Renton? Julie Renton. I'm so sorry. My neighbor upstairs is Julia.
Okay. Shout out to Julia upstairs.
Julia. And then my goddaughter's name is Juliana. So I'm having a little bit of a confusion there. Okay. She's great, but I never have had someone on the show that I have not interacted with. So I think you noticed I reached out to you on LinkedIn, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave him alone though, because I don't think he wants to be bothered. So I'm just going to go with the flow. So I was expecting somebody really kind of snooty.
No, I don't like, what might have happened is I have this thing, and I've told Julie this. I want to meet people, but one thing that I've learned from being on some other podcasts and that is folks often want to do this sort of pre-interview, get to know you first. Yeah. And I've never found that to be helpful, because it removes magic moments like I think we're having now. Mm-hmm. And so but it's very hard to.
Before you go on. Okay, so Rick and Cynthia, I'm about to reprimand you in front of our guests, because do you remember that other person? And you guys were like, oh, maybe they do. You should let them do a pre-interview. I'm like, I'm not doing no pre-interviews.
Yeah.
Remember? Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
Well, I sometimes, when I get a sense, either through being CC'd on an email or I get sent something or whatever, I get a sense sometimes when maybe someone wants to do a pre-interview, and I have to, it's so hard because it's actually me trying to be the opposite of snobby by going, no, and like setting boundaries. I'll tell Julie, like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'll turn up, but it's actually for the benefit of their show.
Right.
And so we have these interesting debates about that, because again, it's trying to actually come from a really good place, but it can sound probably not so nice.
No, usually we have the person. So this is we're a small boutique. We're awesome. And we are definitely international now. So it's not just you. I don't know why so many people from all over the world keep coming on the show.
That's
It's
awesome.
amazing. So we're excited and we're getting bigger. But usually the person who wants to be on the show is the person who emails me.
Right.
So it was really interesting. And I was like, okay, we're just going to go with the flow with this man. And so,
Cool.
yeah, no, I love it. But you just seem like a regular guy. Like, I'm coming to Australia to visit you, spiders or not. I don't care.
You're welcome. There's a spare couch somewhere in the house.
A what?
A spare couch.
Couch.
Oh,
Sofa.
I thought you said a spare cat. I'm like, okay, we're not friends. I'm not a cat.
I'm not a cat person either.
Okay, we're best friends again.
Cool.
This actually brings to my remembrance, somebody wanted to interview me for like their local TV show thingy, and he wanted to meet up first. So he went to a diner and he's asked me all kinds of questions beforehand.
Yeah.
Then when we got to the thing, it seemed really stiff because it was
And
like
flat.
it was like now I feel like I wish I didn't talk to him ahead of time because
That's
it
right.
just felt stale and
Yep.
yeah. So I agree.
I'll tell you exactly where I learned that lesson. I was doing a TED talk in 2015, and the producer said the night before, and this was probably one of the biggest things, if not the biggest thing I'd done up until that point. The producer the night before said, "Do a run through for all of us here, just for time." And I was like, "It's good." I was like, "I've timed it. It's good." And then she said, "No, we just need to do it for time. Don't worry, we're not going to give you notes." So we did it, and they gave me a list of notes.
No.
And I went, and even though I ended up going, I'm going to ignore most of them, it was still played in my mind. And then when I delivered the speech, it was, can I swear?
You already did, but yeah, you can.
Okay. Yeah, it was shit. It was incredibly shit. And I've ended up having it taken offline and all that. There's still, I think, one small part of it on YouTube. But the point is like, I learned a big lesson from that, which is like, no, back yourself. You got an interesting story. You're a decent communicator, at least as far as I can tell. And you don't want to blow that by sort of doing exactly what we've been discussing. So
and
that's
it's funny because usually in the future, if you were ever to do, nobody would ever ask you to do that.
Probably
do you
not.
know what I mean? Like now, because of your staff,
now, no.
who you are, and also even if they did, then you'd be like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that."
That's right. Whereas I was 10 years younger and a bit more polite.
Yeah, I'm actually the same way too. Like I've had people just work-wise ask me, you know what, can we just go over what you're going to say in the presentation? I'm like, okay, no. Like, you hired me because you wanted me to do this. So
I'll tell you, there's a reverse of that as well, which is, and this is more family life. I find after a big work thing, or like we've been in the news for something, or there's been some announcement, then I spend time with like more distant family. It's not like my immediate family, but more like, cousins and such. And they'll go, "What happened then? And can you rehash that?" And it's like, no, absolutely not. I live it. Like, I'm not going to spend my spare time and weekends and leisure time revisiting what I do in my professional hours. Like, that's just that's not exciting to me. It's painful. Yeah. Anyway, we're just having a group therapy love-in.
I know, right?
Who's complaining about annoying family things?
Exactly. Where do you see your career going? Or you know what? Not even your career, because I think it's not a career for you. This is like your life.
That's right.
But what do you see happening in the years to come? Like, is vinyl going to get bigger? Are you going to do other things outside of it? What are your kind of life goals?
Yes.
Awesome answer. Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think vinyl gets bigger, and I do other things, and hopefully get a little bit of balance back too. I have been defined by my career for my whole life, and I think maybe there's a world where that eases up a little bit, because I can now, to be honest. Yeah. So maybe take a bit more time for myself.
Yeah. Is there something that you love to do kind of Like, what would you like to do? Like, have you ever been skydiving? Like, tell us
No,
something personal.
no, and I wouldn't, because it just
Oh.
scares the
I went
the Jesus out of
skydiving.
me.
Are you kidding me? Come on.
Is
You
it?
could do it.
What's I'm scared of that feeling of the drop, I think. But then
Can
other
I
people
tell
told
you
me you don't feel it.
No, can I tell you the worst part of skydiving? But
Yeah.
I would do it again. And if I
Yeah,
come to Australia, you're
we're
going.
doing it. Okay.
We're doing it. Okay, here's the thing. The worst part is going up in the plane
Yeah.
because they're not going to bring you back down. You
Yeah.
have to jump.
Yeah.
So,
Ugh.
and then the worst part is watching everyone before you go.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but I had the whole thing filmed,
Yeah.
and every time I watch it, I'm like, yes, I got to do it again because I
When-
have kind of forgotten going up in the plane, which was scary.
When you watch it back, do you look panicked at all, or
No, you guys have seen it, right? I'll send you the
Mhm.
clip. I'm having a blast because I'm talking to the camera guy. Well, I
Yeah.
think I'm talking to the camera guy.
Yeah.
So it's tandem, of course. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm so. But we had the camera guy Nathan, and I was like talking to him, and I'm laughing, and I loved. It was pure joy.
yeah? Okay,
Pure
all right,
joy.
maybe. Look, I tell you what I am doing in about 2 or 3 weeks, and I've been waiting for months for this. Is I'm buying a jet ski, and because I'm moving to a house that's on like an inlet,
Okay.
and so my wife and I actually weren't planning on moving at all this year, but we found this place, and we've kind of always dreamed of having a place on the water. And when we found it, and it happened to be in our price range, we were just like, oh my God, this is too good to be true. So we bought that about 4 months ago, and we finally move in a couple of weeks. And the first thing we're going to do is get some water toys. So I'm looking forward to
Jet ski.
those.
That
Yeah.
would scare me. That would
Oh,
scare me.
Well, the only times I've ever done it have been trips down to Mexico. In
Yeah.
fact, I love doing it in Mexico so much that one trip we went down just to go jet skiing. And so I want to, if I can make that part of like what I have in my everyday life, then I think that's probably a net positive.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
That was
Like
your
I can see going out after like a tough day at the office and just like blowing off some steam out in the bay on the jet ski. I think that to me sounds like heaven. So I'll let you know in a year if it's worked or not.
Oh no, that's gonna be cool. Rick, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I have friends that absolutely love doing it. It's like they just feel a freedom, and it's a joy, and it's a thrill, and it's just they love it. Absolutely love it.
I'm not an ocean person. I live a block from the ocean. I live in Santa Monica. You've been to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I live right here. But I respect the ocean. I will not go into the ocean, especially here in Santa Monica, but just in general.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, fair enough.
I do want to ask about Vampr though.
Yes.
How it compares to like a LinkedIn. Like
Sure.
You know, I go to Chat GPT. Explain like I'm a 6-year-old. What does this mean?
Yeah.
But
Okay,
it's only for musicians, but I thought it was also for creatives.
It's for creators. It is because it started off as a place for drummers to find guitarists, singers to find producers, like really fundamental roles in the music world. And then what happened is like people would hit us up and go, well, I make artwork for music. Can I join? And we're like, yeah, we'll create a category for you. And then someone would go, well, I'm a videographer. I like to film bands and go on tour with them. Okay, well, we'll add, and then I'm a choreographer. And it kept going and going. And then now we've got, I think, like 27,000 different role types in there. So it's sort of tailor-made for the music industry. And you asked how does it compare to sort of LinkedIn. So in terms of like, if you look at the global workforce and the number of people who work in creative adjacent sort of fields, or creative fields and adjacent creative fields, you're talking about 10% of the workforce thereabouts. LinkedIn, only 4% of their user base identify as working in creative fields. So what that says is that it's not an efficient place for creative people to network, which I think anyone who's used it would probably agree. It's gotten better over the years, but it's if I want to go and see someone's portfolio and find other people who are fans of Kendrick Lamar who also who also have these following skills and have worked in these spaces in specifically in music or in film, you just can't do that on LinkedIn. Like the example we always give is like, if you wanted to find someone who listened to both Led Zeppelin and Kendrick Lamar and lived in Tampa and played drums for 5 years and was in their early 30s, and I'm trying to think of all the filters we have, and listens to blues, right? If you want to do all those different pieces, like you can't do that on any platform in the world, but you can do it on Vampr. And that's like, we built that. And it doesn't matter what city in the world you're in, if you go in and customize it like that, you will get results.
Can anyone join?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I like to write poetry. So like, say for instance, if I wanted to join, and is there a category where like people can write their poetry if somebody may want to use it as in a song or something like that?
Yeah, so there's, I think the most relevant categories to that would be like lyricists. I think there's like lyric composer is separate to lyricist as well. And then you can do custom categories and type whatever you want. So probably, although I don't know how active people would be looking for poets, if I'm honest. Like I've not heard of that use case before. But the thing I think I like about Vampr is that anyone creative can go on there, create a profile, have a look around, and if it's not for them, they can leave. And if it is for them, they can stay. Like it's like anything in life, right? There's no one's forcing you to join, no one's forcing you to stay or anything in between. And I love that. Like that's why it is designed. There's other platforms out there that try and do what we do, and they've got, once again, gatekeepers. Like they have to look at the work that you've done first, or decide if you're quality enough to be on there. And we're just like, let the algorithm sort it out. Like obviously we built the algorithm, but you don't want, really, really, I gotta be careful here, but from an objective standpoint, you don't want people that are sort of such low quality that it degrades the overall experience for other people. But at the same time, who are we to judge what's low quality? And so the way you sort of get around that is certain algorithm tricks that will see that hopefully you're connecting people at similar levels of skill and similar levels of experience and similar sounds. And some of it, will get easier with AI, and we're sort of starting to look into that too. But right now it's more mathematical matching based on certain attributes. It's all a bit nerdy, but we do our best to try and match appropriate people with someone that they might get value out of.
How do you know so much about social media, but you don't use social media? Like, you know a lot about the algorithm.
Yeah. I mean, I do use them. I'm not active on them. I'm not using them. Okay, I'm not building. Yeah, I'm not building a fan base on any platform. I think some things I'm on have 10. I think like LinkedIn, I might have 10,000 followers or something. I don't spend a lot of time on.
Can I just say, that's so funny. Like, people don't just have 10,000 followers on LinkedIn. That's not.
Yeah, but I've got plenty of friends that have. But I've got plenty of friends that have
over 100,000 or whatever.
Well, I was going to say, no, I've got like plenty of friends that have thousands of Instagram followers. I've got like 100, and I don't really use it. And that's why I don't have many, right? So what my point is, I think like when you use a platform actively, you can build an audience. I haven't personally built an audience, but I've built brands. So my companies have pages that have hundreds of, like my Vamper has hundreds of thousands of likes. Between my media companies that I own, we've got millions of likes and followers. So I know how social media works. It doesn't mean I personally
don't use it.
Yeah, that's right.
Personal use, that's not for you. Generally.
Yeah.
Well, you doesn't have the time. I mean, I think that also makes sense.
Don't.
You're not spending your time scrolling and whatever. So
I'm jealous of the folks that can, because it is. I think folks can run a job. Yeah, okay.
We're struggling. Because I think it's the opposite. We're using your services because we're trying to be creative on it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the difference. And we're trying to do what you're doing, that you've been doing since you were a kid and you found your way through it. But you're doing something you love. Yeah. When I asked you the question, what you would do if you weren't doing this, you didn't really have an answer, which kind of means you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Whereas I think most people, myself included, are always pursuing doing what we love and making a living at it. So that's why we're using your services,
Yeah.
So before we sign off, do you guys have any other questions? Because I just want to make sure that we promote vinyl.com, Vampr.me, which I did not know that. So it's .me. Yeah. And will you come back and be on the show, Josh?
100%.
Okay, because we're coming to your house. Well, now we're going to wait till you move. We're not stupid.
We'll do it live from the jet ski.
The beach. You can be on. Me and Cynthia will be on the beach. I don't know where Rick will be, but
okay.
On the beach, watching you and your wife on the jet ski.
Amazing.
And your cat. No, I know you don't have a cat. Don't log off yet, but so everyone remember, we are always on Friday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. On Sundays, 12 o'clock Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Josh, it was so great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. It was really fun.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah. And remember, everyone, at the end of the day, it really is all about the joy. Bye, everyone. Bye. Thanks for stopping by All About the Joy. Be better and stay beautiful, folks. Have a sweet day.